Nevada's cultural heritage is known worldwide, and it's as varied as our bright neon cities and rugged wilderness landscapes. Every week, the Nevada Department of Cultural Affairs brings a piece of that heritage to your living rooms through our documentary series, Exploring Nevada. I'm producer and host Gwen Clancy. Welcome to the colorful world of cultural affairs. Today, our story takes us to Carson Valley, which lies against the eastern front of the Sierra Nevada, about an hour's drive south of Reno. A land rich in springs, mountain runoff, and lush natural meadows, it served as home to native peoples for long before recorded history. Not surprisingly, this wide, sweeping valley also attracted European settlers, who began putting down roots here in the mid-19th century. A number of the early-day ranches are now facing the forces of development, but the historic ranch settled by the Dangberg family has gained a new lease on life with its transformation into the Dangberg Home Ranch State Park. To tell its story, we'll peel back the layers of history, starting with a man who spent his boyhood here, back to archival footage of his mother and aunt, who remember an earlier era, and all the way back to the founder himself, H.F. Dangberg Sr., through a unique Chautauqua-style portrayal by a well-known Nevadan.
We are here by the water that brings life to the ground. Water is what makes the grass. And I knew that because what made the grass was where the river flooded, there was grass. And I knew if I could make more flood, there would be more grass to feed cows and other animals which would feed people and become an enterprise and make money for me. It is what sustains us, and it is what brought me here to this part of the country. Water. You might think that these are just mountains, and those to the south are even more important mountains, because that is where the water comes from. Those drainages, the size of them, allowed us to take what was sagebrush ground. All this is sagebrush in here. We laid out the sagebrush, and we took grass and made it level. With leveling grass, you can run water across there. As you can see, the water has made pasture over there for feeding the animals, and we have made fruit trees, which is good to feed men. But water is no good in the area unless you can put it where you want it to be. And here we have a ditch. I put in the first ditch. We did not need ditches in Gold Canyon where I came from over there because there was very little water. But water has to spread, and that's what a box like this does. And we use boxes and we spread the water across the land. That water makes the land productive and makes me rich. Now I had another ranch about a mile down the river, but that Don Lucky Bill Thornton, when I was in Hangtown getting supplies, took it over. Shotgun in his lap, I could do nothing but come here. I came here and built a 2-story log home. It is part of my life. This is my home ranch. This is my home. I want to show you the parts I remember. After a full day in the fields with my men, I would come into the house, work at this desk doing the paperwork. Having finished the paperwork, I would go over here to my favorite chair, have a schnapps and a cigar, read the Territorial Enterprise, and soon repair to bed about 10 o'clock at the night. In the year of 1866, I married my wife, Margaret Gale Ferris, famous for her brother who invented the Ferris wheel. Perhaps you have heard of him. She encouraged me to have finer things in life. Everything for me had been German and utilitarian. But in those days, the mattress was horsehair and very, very comfortable, I thought. Later, people said they had even better. I don't know. As you can see, Margaret's influence extended beyond just inside the house. we had nice things like this screen door. I liked it because it worked. It kept the flies out in the summer. Margaret and I had 5 children, 2 of whom evidently don't know how to put their bikes away. Always in the way, no work. We need work. The rustle of fall leaves, which reminds me of when I was elected and went to the assembly in 1869. I made contacts which allowed me to buy this Warm Springs quarried stone, and I built this stone cellar. This is my favorite building on the entire ranch because it works. It works even without men working. Please be careful when you walk in here. As you can see, it's all cut stone and it's quite uneven. But the reason I really liked this building was because of its cooling system. At night, we would open these, put them up there, and cool air would come in. First thing in the morning, 4 o'clock, when I got up, when I came out, I would replace this in here, and the building would stay cold all day. This natural cooling system allowed me to put up meat and cream and other perishable items in here. And things like apples, which we would keep in here so they would not spoil. It was very, very utilitarian. As you can see, the building had many, many uses. It stored everything from fruit to liquor, much of which kept my family happy for very many years. Well, we have talked about various things as we went. We talked about the vada, we talked about the men, but really what supplied the power was horses. And the thing that was most important on many ranches was the barn. And that's where we are going to go next. As you can see, this is the barn where all the work took place. We used our horses here. And the horses would bring hay from the fields. It would be loose stacked. We would take it and put it up on the second floor. Then we would feed from there down. This was one of the biggest barns in the entire valley. I was very proud of it. It withstood windstorms, very strong windstorms. But more though, I never ever let anybody smoke around this barn. In this room, we had a stable buck which managed the horses. And on this side, we fed the work horses. And over there, we fed and had the saddle horses. Loose hay from above fed into the racks. As you can see, the horse would take a bite, and some would fall. Some would fall into this. We wasted nothing, that's why that's there. On the days that I rode a saddle horse, the stable buck would bring him over here, have him saddled for me so I could ride out into the fields on my horse and check on the men. On the days that the horses worked hard, we gave them extra grain in this part over here so they stayed fat and healthy. My entire life has been built around work. My motto has been, if I rest, I rust. Now it is time for me to go back to work.
H.F. Dangberg Sr. died in 1904. More than a century later, the ranch still bears the Dangberg name.
H.F. Dangberg Sr. has left us, but I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Michael Fisher, the Director of the Department of Cultural Affairs. The Home Ranch is a near and dear place in my heart because I spent 3 days a week as a cowboy here on the entire ranch and 3 days a week as a dentist when I first came to Carson Valley. But I know someone that it's even dearer to. We're very, very lucky today to have Steve Ashard, H.F. Dangberg's great-grandson, come and join us for this. And he's going to tell us some things about the ranch that no one except Steve knows.
H.F. Dangberg Sr. was my great-grandfather. I grew up on this place, and this has been my home ever since my mother brought me here. In 1904, my great-grandfather passed away. My grandfather, H.F. Jr., Fred, employed the services of Mr. de Longchamps, a noted architect at that particular time. He designed a lot of this architecture that's here. And at that particular time, in 1918, there was a tremendous expansion of the ranch. We moved the old butcher shop from the south side of the ranch over to where you see now, and it was designated in 1918 as a reminder of the time when that was moved. My grandmother Gertrude really loved these gates. This was a formal entranceway into the home ranch. Many U.S. senators, congressmen, representatives, and a very good friend of the family, Will Rogers Jr., came through these gates to meet with my grandmother and grandfather. Back over there, this is the men's bunkhouse, the one that's boarded up, and the other one, when I was growing up, the brick house, also designed by de Longchamps, was the cook's house.
Well, Dink, this men's dining room addition was later after H.F. Sr.'s time, but more importantly, the kitchen is right here, and I know that was the center for the entire ranch in many ways. This is a door I remember always coming in and out, but I don't think that the company did that, did they?
No, they certainly didn't, Mike. This is a door that was used for family and friends. The doorway that you see in the front was used for special guests, the ones that came in, the very influential businessmen, as well as the politicians. But this area right here, this was a focal point for family and friends. This is the original bread box in the kitchen. I remember so many times our Chinese cooks making the bread. The flours were stored down in here, kneading the bread, kneading the dough, baking it in here in pans very much like this. And it was really exciting to watch them do this. And the smell of the fresh bread coming out of this was just absolutely phenomenal. Makes me hungry right now to think about it. The stove itself was wood-fired. You can see some of the original ovens right here, and many a roast has come out of this oven. And again, it makes me hungry just thinking about that.
Now, Dinky, didn't they cook for everybody here?
Yes, Mike.
But they ate in separate places, didn't
Yes,
they?
they did. This kitchen was a central focus point. The men's dining room, the men ate in there separately from the family. The formal dining room for the family was in back and to the other side of us over here. This is the family dining room. As you can see, this is a little bit more elegant than most of the family dining rooms in the area. And the reason that this was built and the reason for its elegance is because of my grandfather and his connections with the high and mighty and the powerful politicians and businessmen. He entertained governors, he entertained congressmen, he entertains U.S. senators here, as well as a number of great businessmen. I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but at the time that he was really going, he used to go down to the Palace Hotel. He rented a suite, an ongoing suite at the Palace Hotel in San Francisco. And to show you how well connected he was, the Palace Hotel would only serve men and butter.
That's pretty impressive, Dink.
This is the men's dining room. The family and the men did not eat together, as you can see. This is where our hired hands all came to eat, and they were served also by the Chinese cooks who were working in the kitchen, came on out, put the individual servings in front of these guys, plus the seconds were in the middle of the room. This seat right here, I can remember as a youngster coming down, and maybe 4, 5, 6 years old, coming down and sitting here early in the morning, around 5 o'clock is when the men ate, and having breakfast with them. And the Chinese cooks, old Chan particularly, would always have great pancakes. And when he would flip his pancakes, he'd go, "Wow, nice brown." I can remember all the happy memories I had in there, and all the times I shot the breeze with Mom and Marg. I'd be leaning up against the stove because it was warm, particularly in the wintertime, and Mom and Marg would be sitting over there with their coffee or tea or whatever they're drinking.
By a happy coincidence, we have video footage of Steve Ashard's mother and aunt in this very kitchen. In 1984, The University of Nevada Oral History Program, under the direction of Tom King, interviewed Steve's mother, Ruth Ashard, and her sister, Margaret McDonald. I was running the 3/4-inch camera, a format that has completely disappeared. This now priceless footage allows us to step back into an earlier generation of the Dangberg family through selected excerpts from those interviews.
I'd like to spend a couple of minutes talking about the Chinese cooks who were here working for you over the years. Where did your family get the Chinese cooks?
As far as I know, they got them in Carson usually, because there was a pretty
Chinatown in Carson.
there was a Chinese settlement there, and whenever a cook would leave or they wanted to would go on vacation or was sick, they just went down to Carson and got another Chinese cook. Of course, they milked here and they had their cream and their milk here, and they let the milk get sour and make marvelous cottage cheese. They always made their own cottage cheese and they had their own cream. That was really good. Great big thick heavy cream, and everybody just loved that. They always had that for their coffee, for their cereal.
There were 3 cowboys took care of the cattle. This is the winter I'm talking about. And there were at least 4 or 5 feeders feeding cattle. You know, they had wagons and took the loose hay. They didn't have baled hay in those days. And they had all the cattle close around here, so they didn't have to go too far to feed them. I never wanted to be a girl. I always wanted to be a boy. The things that boys did were so much more interesting than housework or cooking or sewing. I couldn't stand those things. I wanted to dig or ride or something outside. The most interesting place around the ranch was the barn. And the minute I got a chance, I would run out to the barn, and the horses and all were so fascinating, and my family were terrified that I'd get kicked or hurt or something. And the minute my mother's head was turned, I'd run out there and she would come flying after me with a willow and whip my legs like that and put me to bed. When my dad came home from work, he said, "Oh, let her get up, let her get up." So he was a pal, but Mother was terrified that I would get hurt. And I could walk between the horses' legs. They didn't kick me. I wasn't afraid at all of those great big workhorses. This is a breaking cart, and they broke all the horses that they used on the ranch were broken with this cart, and they put a mare that was already trained on the right-hand side, and they put the horse that was to be broken on the left-hand side. They were hitched that way. This is a brake that they used to stop the horses. It was part of the training. They pushed it forward, and those brakes held these wheels back here. There used to be a seat on here, but somebody stole the seat. It's all broken, and it was up there, and the driver sat there with his feet braced against this, both feet. And then with the reins in his hand, he'd drive them and then stop them with the brake.
They used horses for haying, for feeding, everything.
The derricks that they stacked the hay with, I don't remember seeing the horses run away very often, but one day I saw a team run across the yard here with a gravel wagon, and it dumped the driver out. I don't know how it got stopped, that team, but I think they just got tangled up and stopped themselves. That was scary.
Well, this is the room that the stable buck had, and the stable buck was the man who took care of the barn. He kept it clean, and he brought the horses in, helped them, and he watered the horses. And I wondered how they kept warm in the wintertime, because I'm sure they wouldn't let them have fires out here. There was so much hay and that sort of thing that's combustible around that they were careful about fire around barns, weren't they?
Yes.
Watched it all the time. And so I'm sure the man never had a fire in there. I'm sure he just froze. I don't know how they stood it. I don't know. Do you?
I don't know how they kept warm.
I don't know how they stood it.
About 3 or 4 pairs of wool underwear. This is a sleeping porch that we had built on here when we enlarged the other part of the house, and they built all these brick buildings around here. This porch has windows all the way around, and they are removable. They fit down into this part of the sleeping porch. In the summertime, we put all those windows down so that we had a good cool breeze blowing through there. In the winter, when it was cold, pulled all the windows up and they fit right into a groove. And we had 3 single beds out there and a double bed. My bed is over here in this corner. My sister's bed was right next to me, my sister Ruth, and the double bed was my sister Fritzie and my sister Catherine. And then we had an extra bed for company. Very often my sisters would have friends come stay all night. Sometimes our cousins would come stay here. And we had enough beds so that we could all stay out there and have a slumber party if we wanted to.
Our final jump in time is back to the present, with the house and outbuildings looking pretty much the way they've been for generations.
You know, Dinky, I know you had happy memories in that kitchen, but I had a lot of happy memories. I spent hours and hours of time in there with your mom and Aunt Margaret, just having coffee on the Ardrey silverware and talking stories about Dangberg. I think that's kind of what enthused me to become the Chautauqua character.
Mike, I have so many happy memories of this place, and it will last with me from here on out. I am also equally happy that the county and the state are now going to take this over as a historical museum and keep this open here on out.
Oh, we're getting there. You know, this is probably my happiest time of the year, coming down here in the fall.
I'm with
and
you,
the
man.
leaves starting to fall and the colors
trees,
changing and the
yep.
wind whistling through
You
them.
bet.
It's just the best time to
It
be at
is-
the home ranch.
That's exactly my thought too, Mike. I just love this.
Yeah, I love fall at the home ranch. One
Well,
of
I
my
love fall
favorites.
anywhere, but this is special to me.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know.
In February 2005, Nevada State Parks in Douglas County assumed management of 5.5 acres here at the historic home ranch. And the first thing that we wanted to do is stabilize the buildings you see. And you'll notice in the background the brand new roof. These are green cedar shingles that were all hand dipped and hand nailed to the roof. That's one of the first projects that we did, was really button up the buildings, tighten them up, make them waterproof. We'll continue stabilizing the buildings, repairing windows that are broken and cracked, painting, repairing some of the columns, fixing screens, replacing a porch, that kind of thing. We've digitized all the photos that were in the house, and we have those now electronically. And one of the huge projects was inventorying and cataloging all the artifacts that were in the house. Dangberg family was very wealthy for a long time, and they traveled all over the world, and like I say on the tours, they didn't ever throw anything away. So There were over 18,000 objects in the house that were inventoried and cataloged, and we have those things. Everything that's here is original to the house. We're excited to have this property, and it's an honor and a privilege, really, to be here and restore this property and be part of making this become a state and a county, the Historic Home Ranch.
Please join us in preserving and celebrating our state's colorful heritage. Call 775-684-3448 or visit us at nevadaculture.org. Besides administering grants, the Preservation Office maintains state and national registers of historic places and runs the State Historic Marker Program. The Preservation Office is part of the Nevada Department of Cultural Affairs, along with the State Library and Archives, Nevada Arts Council, and Division of Museums and History. Through these agencies, the state of Nevada offers a wealth of cultural programs for residents and visitors alike. We invite you to check out our website or call 775-687-8323 in Carson City. And see you next time on Exploring Nevada.